Hey guys, we're the Sports Addicts podcast, and today is the first episode of our top 5 players at each position. So today we'll be starting off with the top 5 safeties in the league. So, Sai, who are your top 5 safeties?
Yeah, so for the safeties, we're doing both free safeties and strong safeties. So we're just categorizing them as just safeties. So starting off, I have the number one safety in the league. I have as Jamal Adams. Jamal Adams just got traded to the Seahawks. He's a great playmaker in my opinion. He has the most impact on the game. He might not be the best coverage safety in the league, but his coverage is not too shabby as well. He makes so much impact on the game. If you look at every Jets game, you see him flying around the field. He makes that Jets defense above average, which doesn't really have many great players on that team. So without Jamal Adams, you can see the Jets defense this year will definitely drop off, and the Seattle defense is just going to rise up to the challenge. And I think him along with Bobby Wagner make a great duo. And Jamal Adams, his pass rushing skills are better than most of the defensive linemen in the NFL. So I think Jamal Adams is just all around package, and he, in my opinion, is the best safety in the league.
Yeah, there's no argument there. He's the most versatile safety he can guard. He's actually a much better coverage guy than people think he is. He can guard. He can guard the run. He's the most versatile guy. You can play him at cornerback, safety, linebacker, potentially even defensive end. So yeah, there's no argument there.
Yeah, so moving on to the second safety on my list, I have Tyrann Mathieu from the Kansas City Chiefs. So Tyrann Mathieu, he's another really impactful player. I think he goes really under the radar when you talk about top 5 safeties. And Tyrann Mathieu, him along with Chris Jones and maybe even Frank Clark, make that Kansas City defense really good, especially in the later half of last season going into the playoffs. They started shutting down teams. If you look at the second half of the playoffs, they were shutting down teams like Las Vegas and other teams like that. And I think Kansas City in the playoffs without Tyrann Mathieu and Chris Jones, they wouldn't really be able to do much against the Niners. They couldn't stop the Niners offense. So I think Tyrann Mathieu, he makes a great impact on the game. He flies around the field. He, in my opinion, was definitely a contender for Super Bowl MVP, obviously without Patrick Mahomes. Most of the quarterbacks usually win. I think he was flying around that field that day. And this season, he was really big for the Chiefs. And I think his impact on the field is really important for the Chiefs defense. And I think he sets the tone. He sets the tone flying around the field. He makes play after play. He had 4 interceptions this season and 12 pass breakups. And obviously, he was a first-team All-Pro. So I think he definitely deserves to be the second safety on this list.
Matthew Shirley, yeah, no doubt, he had a huge impact. But he was kind of inconsistent. As you mentioned, they were only good in the latter half of the season. What about the first part of the season? Chiefs defense was pretty bad. Then he wasn't really consistent at the beginning. He took some time to
yeah, but I don't think it's his fault. If you look at it, when Chris Jones went down early part of the season, you can't really blame him. You can't blame it on, it's a team game, right? You can't just blame it on Tyrann Mathieu to be like, oh, the team wasn't the same in the first half. So first half of the season. So
I'm just saying, there are guys that are more consistent, potentially Minka Fitzpatrick, Anthony.
Well, yeah. So this list is more of a overall list. It's not like what happened last year. I feel like last year this list would definitely change because there was definitely some safeties who played way better last year than they've ever played before. So if it was based on that, I think it would definitely change the list. But I think Tyrann Mathieu definitely deserves to be second, especially with his career and how he's consistently been one of the top safeties in the
NFL. Yeah, that does make sense. His impact is second to none on that Chiefs defense. So
yeah. So moving on to my third safety on this list. I think this comes as a little surprise for many people because everyone thinks he's fallen off. But I think Harrison Smith is definitely top 3 safety in this league. I think Harrison Smith for the last half decade has been one of the best safeties in the league. And this year he just got overshadowed by a better player on his team and as a safety as well. So I think Harrison Smith, this year he had to take on a role as a box safety, which he usually doesn't have to do. He usually is a free safety with Andrew Sendejo, who's not in the Vikings anymore, as a box safety. And Harrison Smith this year, he was still really underrated. They had the best safety duo in the league. And that defense was definitely really good, and especially because of the safety duo. They had to take care of the cornerback weakness on that team because Xavier Rhodes, who isn't who he was a couple years ago, they had a lot of rookies lining up at corner, like Mike Hughes, who got injured also early on in the seasons, and Trey Waynes, who really inconsistent. So I think Harrison Smith definitely takes on a lot of the role. He's a captain of that defense, and I think Harrison Smith is definitely a top 3 safety in the NFL.
Yeah, obviously, as I said, he's one the guys. He's been a rock for that Vikings defense since he's been drafted. But I have a question for you: why choose Harrison Smith over Anthony Harris?
Yeah, but the thing with Anthony Harris, right? If you look at his career, he hasn't been who he was last season for more than 1 year, right? So he could be a 1-year wonder. They're playing players like that. It's like Justin Simmons also was really good last year. He's been solid his whole career, right? But he hasn't been who he was last year. And I think Harrison Smith, now he's on the other side of 30. I think he's probably going to start to regress, but I think he still has a top 3 spot as of right now.
Yeah, his versatility is what makes him a good, great safety. He can, as he said, he can play in the box, but he can also play coverage. He's great coverage. I think that the Vikings can expect big things out of their safety duo. As you said, their secondary last year was pretty bad, but these two guys, Harrison Smith and Anthony Harris, they both were able to cover that up. So yeah, the Vikings can expect good things out of the safety tandem.
Yeah, so moving on to the 4th safety on my list, I definitely have Justin Simmons on the 4th safety. I think Justin Simmons, even though he might have not had the best, wasn't the best safety last year, I think he definitely deserves to be on this list. I think he's been the most underrated safety in the NFL for the last like couple years now. I think, and him on that Broncos defense, who was like ravaged by injuries last year, like Bradley Chubb going down, and a lot of people just didn't play well on that Broncos defense. So I think he was the one solid piece on that defense that made it at least somewhat credible. And I think he deserves to be a top 5 safety. I'm a little higher on him than many people. I think Justin Simmons is definitely considered top 7, 6 safety in the league. But I think his impact on the game is just a little bit more than other guys I have later on this list, as coming from the Pittsburgh Steelers and Minnesota Vikings again. So Joe, what do you think about that?
Yeah, if anything, he should actually be ranked higher because although people think of him as more of a coverage guy, he's a great run defender as well. He was able to step into the box and make some great plays. He had a PFF grade of 85.0 as a run defender. I mean, for a guy with his frame, that's way better than expected. And of course, in coverage, we already know what he can do. He allowed a pass rating of 32.1. And I feel like you can make an argument to put this guy second or third in this list. So.
Yeah, he's incredible in my opinion. He's all over the field. He does everything for that Broncos defense, and he's still 26. He was a 3rd round pick, so it was a great pick for the Broncos.
Yeah, definitely no argument there.
Yeah, so moving on to the 5th and final safety I have on this list, I have Minkah Fitzpatrick. Last season, after coming from the Dolphins, he was just incredible. He played like the best safety in football last season, and if he did it for the whole season, he definitely would have been higher on this list. He just got traded mid-season, so I think I need to see another year from him. And if he does the same impact, he creates the same amount of turnovers, he's definitely going to be higher on this list, and he has a shot to go from number 5 to number 1 real quick.
Yeah, I feel Minkah Fitzpatrick is probably like my favorite safety to watch because like you could put him wherever. He just flies over the field. Like his range on the field is incredible. His speed, he can go across the field in like a split second. The way he reads the quarterback's eyes is just like a wonder. That's teach tape right there. As we saw, he had so many interceptions and like the Steelers secondary, although it was good, it improved dramatically after Fitzpatrick came. They allowed 155 passing yards through the first 2 weeks of the season before he came there, and then 155 passing yards of like deep plays. But then that number was 376 over the remaining 14 games, which is like I find that an incredible fact. Like that's absolutely amazing. And you have to remember that these guys play in a tough division with Cleveland Browns, with the Baltimore Ravens, and the Bengals, who do have some good receivers. So I feel like this guy has so much potential, and he's gonna take off next year.
Yeah, I think that's definitely fair to put him in the top 5 after that season. I think there are also a couple honorable mentions I want to mention on this list. So I think one of them has to be Anthony Harris. He was the best safety in the league last season. I just think that he wasn't who he was last season, right? He wasn't who he was last season prior to what he was in his career. And he's also up there in age. He's getting a little older. And the Vikings obviously franchise tagged him this year. So if he can prove it again, I think he's definitely a top 5 safety next season. And a couple guys that go under the radar every year. Devin McCourty, he's been a rock for that team, New England, and he's 32 years old now. It's kind of crazy how old he's become. He's been there for the majority of his career. Him along with his brother just make that secondary so good. And Derwin James, once again, he was all pro 2 years ago, and Derwin James last season was injured, so I really couldn't put him on this list. And the final guy I want to mention is Kevin Byard. Kevin Byard 2 years ago was really good. I think he was a first team All Pro 2 years ago, but I think this year he did take a little bit of a step back along with that Tennessee defense. So but I still think he's definitely top 8, top 9 safety in this league. So yeah, those are my honorable mentions. Do you have any thoughts about that?
Yeah, I mean, like there's like so many guys that you could nominate for an honorable mention. Earl Thomas, as you said, Devin McCourty, potentially guys like Quandre Diggs, Marcus Maye, and there's like so much talent at the safety position.
Yeah, and Eddie Jackson's another one too.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think that'll wrap it up for our top 5 safeties in the NFL list. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.